everybody, this is Tracy here for another edition of A View from Tracy's Point, and we are here to recap Queen Sugar Season 2, Episode 4, which was titled My Soul's High Song. So before we get started, as some of you may already know, I am an author. So when I was watching the show last night, I was kind of in my writer's hat and just like really actually what was going on, and I'm going to do another video about what was actually going on as I was watching the show. But I was in a very reflective mood as I was watching it. And so I started to notice that Queen Sugar is written from a very feminist point of view, and I think the dynamics of the show is what happens when you're trying to, I don't know, it's kind of hard to explain, but it's like when you're trying to build women up and make women more powerful. Some people feel that in order to do that, they have to tear men down and bring men down. And I don't know if it's intentional or if it's just the way that it happens, but if you really watch the show, you have these three women. You have Nova, Charlie, and Aunt Vi. And then we're going to bring Darla along because I think somewhere along the line, Darla is going to go and work for Charlie once Charlie finds out, what happened with her in the job. And so they're very strong, dominating figures. And we can even see that with Darla as she's progressed throughout the season so far. And then on the flip side, we have men who are damaged and bruised or kind of codependent on the women in the show. And so we have Remy, who, is supposed to be like the strong, good brother, but he can't get to Charlie because she's so damaged by Davis and what happened with Davis. And then he sees things more on a simplistic level and a more humble level, but that kind of doesn't mesh with them because she's way up here and she kind of sees him as being down here. And then we have Hollywood, but we've already shown that Hollywood is damaged as well because we had the situation last year with the wife, where he was telling a lie and keeping secrets from Aunt Vi. And then in this season, we have Hollywood. I thought he said he was just going to take some time off from the rig. Not sure if he quit the rig altogether. But now we have a man who may have money in the bank and may be able to support himself. But he's coming into a situation where Aunt Vi is trying to find herself. And so she's listening to Charlie and Nova telling her to step out, and be this dynamic woman that she's intended to be. So now we're going to have tension between the two of them as they try to figure this thing out. And so Hollywood, doesn't really know what he wants. He knows he wants Aunt Vi, but he doesn't know which direction to go with Aunt Vi. And then just the whole thing with Micah and, his innocence being stripped away from him. We got Ralph Angel, who we know is all over the place. But like I said, I just watched the show last night in a very different light. And I just picked up on so much of the feminist point of view that it had me sitting there saying, why can't black love just be displayed in a positive, good light? Why does there have to be this tug of war between the male and the female? Why can't there just be normalcy? Because I know more normal relationships than I know dysfunctional relationships. And so I kind of put a feeler out there on Facebook, and I was surprised. A couple of people did come back and say, yeah, I get what you're saying. I know where you're going. And one person said that she actually doesn't watch the show anymore because it was, just a little heartbreaking to her. So you guys, let me know what you think about that. Do you think the feminist views are too strong, or do you like the fact that they're making the ladies seem, come across as being very powerful and dynamic, which I have no problem with, but I just don't like the fact that it has to be at the expense of the male role in the relationship, or that the men have to be broken down to a lower level in order for the women to rise up. Like, why can't they rise up together? So, got that little rant out of the way. Let's go ahead and get started with the recap. So I don't know why Charlie thinks that she can live with Ralph Angel, because they don't see eye to eye on anything on a good day. And now we got Micah, who's used to being the only child in the house, and then the situation with the arrest, and so it's kind of conflicting with him and Blue getting along. And so Blue is already getting on Micah's nerves, you know, putting stickers on his notebook, which I thought was kind of cute. And later on, you know, when he came up behind Micah with that stupid Kenya doll and scared Micah, and Micah turned around and hit him and caused Blue to fall into the wall. And then Ralph Angel jumped up and was like manhandling Micah and slammed him up against the wall. And I'm just like, oh, Charlie, you better pack your bags and get up from out of there, girl. So Charlie, you know, she had to pull Ralph Angel off of Micah. She was ready to fight. She was like a lioness cub, or lion, female lion. She was about to get with Ralph Angel. So, you know, Blue's on the ground crying like a baby, and Ralph Angel, you know, goes over and picks him up like he's a 2-year-old. You know, now Micah is upset, and Charlie, like I say, it's time to move, girl. So after things calm down, you know, Charlie apologizes, but when she says that Ralph Angel, of all people, should understand what Micah is going through, he took offense and, you know, basically told Charlie, how are you going to compare Micah's 4 hours in jail, you know, to his 4 hours in prison? And Ralph Angel annoys me so much, and he's always annoyed me. I've never liked his character that much. It's like he's fine as all outdoors, just a whole lot of dark chocolate going on, but when that Negro opens his mouth, I just cringe. And I'm just like, I don't know if he's gonna get stereotyped into that kind of role or not, but he just, I don't know, it's just something about Ralph Angel, and just his, I don't know, it's just something about him that annoys me. It's like he doesn't have a humbleness about him. He's always trying to prove a point, and always trying to like make everybody else feel bad about his situation. And no, it's just, he just drives me crazy. So he tells Charlie that getting arrested didn't mess Micah up, that it was her and Davis that messed Micah up. And then I almost dropped the remote when he said that Micah was soft. I was just like, Negro, are you serious? When you sitting over here got a 6-year-old playing with a doggone Barbie doll, and every time he cries, you like run over and coddle him, and then you got him sleeping in the bed with you, but Micah is soft? At least Micah can sleep in the room by herself and not be scared of the boogeyman. So it's like, if you don't go somewhere and sit down, Ralph Angel, like I'm so over you right now. So Darla arrived, and she wants to take Blue swimming, and she later tells Ralph Angel that she's surprised that Blue couldn't swim. And then she shares that there was a flyer up, you know, that they were going to be given swimming lessons at the rec center, and so she wanted to sign Blue up. But then Ralph Angel was like, well, how much is that going to cost? And then she was like, oh, it's no problem. You know, I'll pay for it out of my paycheck. And he was kind of like, no, you know, that pride thing getting in the way. He didn't want Darla to pay for it. But then he thought about it and was like, you know, it's a give and take here. So he tells Darla, okay, go ahead and pay for the swim lessons. So then tell me, why is it that Blue, who last season was always in school, and we had all the interactions with Miss Valdez or Ruiz or whatever her name was, but on this season, Blue ain't been nowhere near the school. They haven't even drove by the school, like going to town or anything. And then it got me to thinking, what happened to Kiki? Like, what? Kiki was on the first episode, but since Micah had to run in with the police, we haven't seen Kiki. And I just would have loved to have seen that interaction between him and her, you know, once she found out what happened and what advice she would have given him, or, you know, like, would they have made their relationship stronger? But we ain't heard Kiki's name or anything. And that's one of the things that's like bothering me about this season, is like they're all over the place. They're not connecting the dots. And remember last year when Charlie went to buy that sugar mill, I thought they were close to harvesting the sugar, and then they were going to be able to grind the sugar like right away or within the next couple of months. But now it's like getting the sugar ready for the sugar mill is way down the line, and they only have workers on the farm. So just a little confusing with me with how, you know, the storylines are flowing on the show. So Ralph Angel got his check, you know, from this organization that help farmers like him, and he's ready to go out and get his soybeans so he can plant his crops, and which goes back to when is the sugar cane going to be ready, because the way they're talking about these soybeans is like he's going to plant these soybeans, they're going to come up in a few weeks, he's going to be able to sell them and make, you know, get like a quick turnaround on his investment. So it sounds like the soybean crop is going to be done before the sugarcane crop is ready to go to the mill. So he tells Prosper that he wants to pick the seeds up and get them planted that same day, you know, because he's all excited. Well, while they're out walking, they find that they have like white flies all over the sugarcane. And so I'm thinking, like, if it ain't one thing, it's another. Like, can we get to happy at any episode on this show? It's just complex, 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 from scene to scene to scene, and the only little glimpse of joy we ever get is when Aunt Vi and Hollywood, you know, they loving on each other. So then we move over to Hollywood, and he's bored half to death. You know, he done fixed everything that's wrong at the house, and he's looking for Aunt Vi, you know, to tell him what can he do next. And I don't know why Aunt Vi won't just give him a job up there at the High Yellow restaurant, at least keep him busy, because she got what's her name, Roberta came talking about the bathroom needed to be cleaned, and Aunt Vi told her to go clean it. So I'm thinking that was some Hollywood could have did. He could have went there and cleaned up the bathrooms, or like when the shipment didn't come in with the eggs and stuff that they needed for the breakfast meals, like why she didn't get Hollywood to go to like the Whole Food store and pick up some a wholesale store and pick up some eggs or whatever they needed and bring that back. But she's telling him, you know, get a beer, go sit in front of that TV, put your feet up and relax and enjoy your time off. I think we found out that he's been home for 3 weeks, and he just, you know, he's a man that's used to working. And I'm thinking, like, if he's been home for 3 weeks, maybe he does need to go back to that rig. And because it seems like he's on the rig. Well, I guess 6 months is a long time. I don't know. Hollywood needs something to do. So anyway, you know, she goes off to work, and then I guess he's sitting around the house and get bored, and so he shows up at the High Yellow also. So while he was there, this lady came in, and she had just had a grandson, and so she was doing a christening or something for the grandson, and she wanted to order some of Aunt Vi's famous pies. And so Aunt Vi said she only cooked the pies during the holidays. So, you know, Hollywood has nothing to do, so he offers, you know, say, give me the recipe and the ingredients, and I'll go home and make these pies. So I was just like, boy, if you don't go and get back on that rig so you can get your life, because you're going to drive all of us crazy. But he did get the opportunity, you know, while he was sitting in the restaurant, to see, you know, exactly what Aunt Vi's job entails and what she deals with on a daily basis. So he goes home and he gets to fixing them pies. He done got stuff everywhere that made a mess of Aunt Vi's kitchen. So when she got home that evening, you know, Hollywood was running around, and he's like, I got the crust ready, I got the filling ready, you know, he just got to put it all together. So Aunt Vi tasted the filling, and I couldn't tell if she thought it was good or bad, but all of a sudden she pulled out her apron and put that apron on and was like, child, let me help you get this all together. So while they were working, you know, on getting the pies finished, Ralph Angel called and told them about the white flies on the sugar cane and that they need all hands on deck. And so Aunt Vi told Hollywood to go ahead on, but he was like, no, I volunteered to do this, and I'm going to stay and finish to the end. So, you know, two of them were in the kitchen working together, you know, finishing up on baking the pies. So then we go over to Charlie, and she has met with all the farmers at Queen Sugar. You know, she's giving them an update on the loan and showing them all the new equipment that she's bought. And you could tell by some of the comments, they was like, okay, we ain't used to all this here. You know, when I bought this updated technology, you know, technological equipment that we're not accustomed to. But she assures them that it's going to make the process that much faster and better, and that, you know, she just wants to keep them in the loop and informed of what's going on. And then they introduced this guy that they hired to be the plant operating manager, and I think he was a Hispanic guy. So I don't know how the farmers felt about the fact that she went and, you know, got the Hispanic guy and didn't ask any of them, but evidently whoever this guy was, he is has experience with running whatever kind of machines that they were. So after the guys left, Charlie and Remy went to this building that's on the property of the sugar mill. And so she's telling him, she has an idea they would make a good retail space and she could put a business in there. And then her realtor called and told her that the house that she had put a bid on, it was a rental property, but the people decided that they were going to stay in the house, so Charlie couldn't get the house. And I'm sitting there saying to myself, dang, them Landrys is just like all up in their business, because I'm sure they probably paid the rent on the house for the next year to keep Charlie from getting that house. But then the realtor said that she had another property that she wanted Charlie to look at, but Charlie had to rush over there right away and come look at the place. So her and Remy, well, she invited Remy to go and said, well, we'll go look at the property and then I'll take you to lunch, to thank you for all your help and all that you've done. So she goes over to look at this other property. And of course, it's this contemporary modern type house, and it's huge and more bathrooms and bedrooms than she need. And so Ralph Angel calls while they're looking at the house to tell them about the white flies. So then Remy says, well, you're going to have to spray the crops and it's going to cost like $5,000. And so then Ralph Angel, lets Charlie know that his check came, and he didn't come out and say, well, I'll use the check to pay for the sprayer instead of getting my soybeans. He just like, well, my check came. And then he kind of paused and waited for Charlie, to step in and say, oh boy, keep your money and buy your soybeans and I'll pay to get the crop sprayed, don't worry about it. So when she said it, it was like, whew, okay, girl, I'm glad you said that. And that's what annoys me about Ralph Angel, because he's angry at everybody when it's what he wants. But then the minute when it comes to making the big decisions and spending the big money, then all of a sudden he wants the responsibility to be on somebody else. And it's like, no, if you're going to wear the big man pants, Ralph Angel, you got to wear them all the time. If that's your farm and you want to be in charge, then you got to handle all the decisions. You got to handle all the money interactions. You can't keep talking about Charlie and putting her down and then need her money, when it's come time to open up the checkbook. So over at the High Yellow, Charlie and Remy are having lunch, and so she's all excited about this rental property, and he's telling her, you really shouldn't do that. And she's like, why? And he says, because it's in the neighborhood that the Landrys look at, and you're asking the farmers to sacrifice and take a chance on you with this new sugar mill, but then you're going to go run out and live amongst the people who they're trying to escape. And basically telling Charlie she needs to humble herself and bring it down a little bit. So they get into this back and forth, and Charlie's like, oh, so they're gonna pull my black card because I think that black success can mirror white success. No, that's not it. It's like you got to gain the trust of the people, and you can't lead the people and not show the people that you love them and that you are a part of their community. Like, you're throwing all this money around, you bought the mill, then you bought in all this expensive equipment, so now you're gonna go live out there with the Landrys. He's like, that's just not a good look, and you really need to reconsider how you're handling things. So as they were going back and forth, Hollywood came in and saved the day, and I'm like, thank goodness, because Remy, you gonna be over there with Davis. You keep telling Charlie how to spend her money. After they spray the crops, they have to wash the leaves by hand, which I would have been like, oh, hell no, because I'm sure it was very hot out there. And so farming obviously is not easy, and it's not for everybody. And Remy explains the process and says that he'll try and round some people up. Then Ralph Angel said he round some people up, and Charlie is just shocked that they have to wash the crops, and I was shocked too. But then Ralph Angel again, all up in his feelings, talk about, oh, don't worry about it. The field Negroes will take care of it. I was just like, really, dude? Like, where did that come from? But then I guess that was sort of like a jab at, what's the guy? Is it Bill Maher that has the comedy show on HBO? And remember he made the comment about, he was talking to the guy, and the guy said, oh, we're going to take you out in the field with us. And he says, no, I don't go in the fields. I'm a house nigger. So I think that was something they probably threw in at the last minute, to take a jab at him. But it was so unnecessary. So then Ralph Angel calls Darla, who is at work at her government job, working in that booth at the parking lot at City Hall, and he wants her to leave work early. And I'm like, don't do it, Darla. Don't do it, Darla. So while she's on the phone with him, that mean boss of hers walks up. You know, he says something about her being on the phone, and she's like, oh, I need to leave early. You know, I'll get somebody to cover my shift. And then he was like, oh, like, is something wrong with your son? So he was showing some compassion. I don't know why Darla didn't say, yes, it's my son. But instead, she said, no, it's my boyfriend. And that man's attitude changed real quick. And he was like, well, no, you can't leave. You need to deal with your romance when you get off from work. And I was just like, Darla, I can't believe you thought that that man was going to let you leave that job to go deal with Ralph Angel and his nonsense. So I guess Darla wants to be the dutiful girlfriend because for whatever reason, her butt showed up at that farm. And I thought she showed up at the farm after her shift ended, but no, she was supposed to be at work and she done got somebody to cover that booth and she done went over there to help watch the crop with Ralph Angel. I'm just thinking, wrong move, Darla, wrong move. So the farmers are joking with Charlie, you know, making a bet, telling they would have bet $30 that Charlie get upset when she ruined her manicure out there working in the fields. So I don't know if Charlie did any work in the fields because her and Nova ended up in the house together drinking some water like they had been working, but their gloves were still clean, like they had just taken them out of the Home Depot bag. So she asked Nova, did she still think that she was a bougie B-I-T-C-H? And so the two of them get to talking back and forth, and Nova asked Charlie, you know, was she going to move out, or, you know, maybe her and Micah could come live with her in New Orleans. And Charlie was like, I ain't going nowhere. Ralph Angel ain't getting ready to run me off that property. I got just as much right to be there as he has to be there. So Nova tells her that that was a straight up hood move. So no, she's no longer bougie in her book. So Aunt Vi and Hollywood finally show up, and Ralph Angel still being a butthole, and she had asked the question, you know, like how much more do they have to go? So then Charlie gave like a simple answer, and then Ralph Angel had to show her up and give the technical farming answer because, you know, he know every damn thing. And so Aunt Vi is like, what is wrong with you two? Like, what's going on? And Charlie walked away, but then Ralph Angel, you know, all feeling himself, can't wait to tell Aunt Vi, you know, he can finally spill the beans about that letter he found and how that is his doggone farm, that's his house, and he about to put Charlie out. And so Aunt Vi is like, what are you talking about? So they go inside and he give Aunt Vi the letter and let Aunt Vi read the letter. And Aunt Vi is like, this ain't no good look. This will tear the family apart. Boy, you better be careful. And he talking about, oh, so what, you want me to just keep it to myself for how long? She folded that letter up and handed it back to Ralph Angel and said, boy, do whatever you gonna do, because we know can't nobody tell you nothing. And Aunt Vi told him, she said, you can let your mouth and your pride write that check if you want to. But you better be ready to cash it. As in, boy, you ain't got the time, the money, the knowledge, the energy to be trying to run this farm and make the decisions that need to be made and the money that it is going to take to get all this up and running. So you need to chill out. So he, you know, he rolling his eyes and mad and everything that Aunt Vi didn't go along with him, or Aunt Vi didn't respond the way he wanted her to respond to that letter. So then later that night, Micah comes in and Charlie, you know, is ready to concede on the housing situation. So there's a knock on the door and it is the Popo. So they are there to serve Ralph Angel a warrant for violating his parole. And this just shows you how crazy women are, because there was some women on Twitter that was like, why the police still messing with Ralph Angel? He ain't violated his parole. And y'all know me because I said on every video. I said Ralph Angel has violated his parole at least 3 times that we know of involving a gun. And I'm going to repeat it again. He robbed the convenience store on the very first episode. Then he pulled the gun on the repo people when they came to repo the tractor. And then just a week ago, he was firing shots up in the air when the people were stealing the sugar cane. So those are 3 infractions. Now we about to find out which one it is that the popo is there for. So it turns out that somebody reported hearing gunshots coming from the property, and we know it was the Landrys that went back and called the police on him. But Charley stepped in. Despite how Ralph Angel has been treating her, she stepped in and said that Ernest had left the rifle to her in the wheel, and that she had no idea that, you know, it would get Ralph Angel in trouble. So they were saying, well, you know, he's in violation because he can't possess a gun and he can't be in the house with a gun. And she was like, oh, well, I'm sorry, you know, I'm moving out tomorrow and the gun will be gone. And so the one officer still wanted to arrest him. But then she went over to the other officer who was standing there like, why the hell am I here involved with this dumbness? And so she learned the lesson from Davis, and she threw on the charm like Davis did when they were at the police department. And so she was being nice and kind and saying how, you know, there's rats and snakes and stuff out in the fields, and she didn't realize, you know, that the gunshots would be heard by other people. And so she was like, well, you know how that is. So they decided to give him a break and told her, you know, get her ass off that property by tomorrow. She better be gone and take that gun with her when she move out the next day. And poor Micah, he was over in the corner scared half to death. And I'm just thinking, like, this boy is traumatized. They may need to get him some professional help. So Ralph Angel had the good sense to tell Charley thank you after, you know, the police left, and Charley lets him know that despite how much they bicker back and forth, that she's always going to have his back, and, you know, that's one thing that he can count on. So I guess that kind of made him think about that letter again, that maybe he should write that check that Aunt Vi was telling him might bounce back on him. And Ralph Angel went in to talk to Micah, letting him know that he's been through some ish, you know, so Micah ever needs somebody to talk to about, you know, what he's going through with the arrest taking place, that he's there to talk to him. And then he also apologized to Micah, you know, for jacking him up and throwing him up against that wall. So then Micah, you know, apologizes for hitting Blue, and Ralph Angel tells him, you know, don't apologize to me, go apologize to Blue. And then there was a part of that conversation that I thought was very profound, and it was when Ralph Angel shared with Micah that when he found out that Charley was having a boy, that he thought, you know, if to him it was like, oh wow, I'm getting a little brother, and how excited he was. But he said that Charley never brought Micah home to meet them, and then he never made it to California, you know, to see Charley and Micah. So it was like very hurtful to him. And I just thought, you know, that happens so much in families, especially now that we have the freedom, you know, to live where we want to, and kids are no longer like staying in their hometowns. They're going out to college and never coming back and moving on the other side of the country, because I know my oldest daughter, she lives in California, you know, so I don't see her that much. And I just think with everybody being all over the place, that breaks down the family bond. And where when we were kids, we would spend the summers with our relatives, with our aunts up in Tallahassee. But our kids don't have that experience. You know, I have nieces and nephews that live in different, you know, parts of the country that I don't get to see. Like, if we don't interact on Facebook, I never get to see them. So when he shared that with Micah, you know, that really touched my heart, because I know that that can be just a really hard thing to deal with, to know that you got, you know, a nephew or a niece that you really don't have a strong bond or relationship with. Then we move over to Nova. So Nova meets with her new editor at the newspaper, and he tells her, you know, he really loves her writing and all these specialty pieces that she's doing, you know, on the police brutality and the unfair treatment of, you know, black men when it comes to incarceration. And he told her that he loved the article that she did on the bail thing that she was doing, where she raised the money to get the guys out of bail on the misdemeanors. He says, but we're going to have to stick a pin in it. So he's trying to talk to her about the state of newspapers, because, you know, newspapers are closing down all over the world probably, but definitely in the U.S. And there's going to be a huge shift in terms of writers, and even on the news stations, like they're kind of moving away from, you know, having these anchors that they're paying, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. And I actually get these job notifications, you know, in my job alerts, where it's basically, if you are comfortable in front of a camera, if you're good at journalism, if you have a car and you can run out to wherever the news is happening, these people are going to hire you as a reporter. And this is at like some of the top TV stations in the area. So, you know, people who've gone to school to become journalists and to become reporters, they're being pushed out or either taking huge pay cuts because the industry is changing so much. And then they're getting rid of the camera people. So like the photographers now have to take pictures and do video for articles. So it's just a real big shakeup. So I'm going to need Nova to humble herself and listen to what this man is saying, which is basically, you do all these hard, serious pieces. Now we need you to do some positive pictures, and then we get pieces, and then we can interchange them. And so Nova's like, you know, well, people need to hear about this. This is important information. And he's telling her, yes, it is important information, but if the readers don't want to read it, or if they need more diversity in the paper, they're going to go elsewhere to find it. And we've got to come up with a balance to save this newspaper. So of course, you know, she was all in her feelings and didn't want to hear what the man had to say. So then she goes to visit her friend. Remember, she was at the shower in the first episode. So she's had the twins, and so Nova's doing some kind of ritual, you know, praying over the kids and praying for their prosperity and longevity and a great life. And remember when Nova was doing that ritual over Charlie to like free her of the spirit of Davis? Well, that was kind of like what she was doing on these twins. And then when she finished, she like wrapped the kids up in these blankets, and they were in these bassinets, and then she had a blanket over the bassinet, and then they covered the bassinets. And I'm thinking, okay, y'all gonna suffocate the kids, or was that to make it dark so they would go to sleep? I didn't even understand any of that. But anyway, they go off and they sit down and talk, and so Nova is telling her, you know, that they pulled her piece and it's not going to run. And then she's telling her about, you know, the changes that the new editor was making. And just like a typical friend, she was like, girl, sue them. Like, sue them for what? Is their newspaper. So then Nova was basically telling her that she was going to, you know, go along to get along and win the favor of the editor and get him in her pocket, because, you know, she can charm some white men, and then she'll start back writing her piece. So then she goes over, and I can't remember if the lady was with the state prosecutor's office or if she was with the Department of Justice, but Nova was there to interview her, and she was trying to appease her boss and do like a success story. So as her and the lady was talking, you know, she was asking the lady, you know, they were kind of talking about the Bell story that Nova had did. And then Nova, you know, kind of tried to turn the conversation around and asked the lady, you know, did she have any feel-good stories that she could share? And so the lady basically let Nova know that she knew that there was a new editor over at the newspaper, and that Nova was trying to get into his good graces, but it wasn't going to work with her. And she got up and told Nova that this is the reason why nobody wants to talk to you on the record or off the record. I guess basically saying that Nova couldn't be trusted because she's very self-serving and it's all about her and what she wants, and not really helping people. You know, this is just her way of making a name for herself. So she walked out on Nova. I was just like, well, dang, where did that come from? So now Nova got to figure out what she's going to do to write these stories for this paper, and I guess still continue on with her little agenda. So the show ends with Aunt Vi in Hollywood talking about their future and how they are wasting their lives working for other people. So I guess he doesn't want to go back to the rigs. And then he was telling Aunt Vi that, yeah, you got the position as the manager at the High Yellow restaurant, but I saw how you were working and you were not happy doing that. And so she was like, well, you know, that's part of my job and my responsibility. So he was basically telling her that when he sees her working, her happiness is when she's in her kitchen, and like when she was baking those pies, like that was joy and that was passion. So I think Hollywood Unvibe might be starting the pie baking business because she seemed to like the idea of him telling her that they need to pursue their own passions and do their own thing together. So then we have a little brief scene where Micah goes into Blue and he apologizes to Blue and the two of them embrace, and that was real sweet. And he bought Blue this little art kit for him in Kenya, which I needed you to bring him a transformer and for Kenya to disappear. But don't look like Kenya is going anywhere anytime soon. And this kind of goes back to that whole feminist thing I was talking about in the beginning, because it's sort of like pushing that agenda, that gender neutral nonsense. And I think I said on another video for another show that I am so not down with that, you know, the sexual fluidness and all this stuff here. And you know, people might not agree with that, but I don't like how they are feeding into this whole thing about, you know, letting Blue or letting the little boy, you know, be whatever he wants to be, and if he wants to play with dolls, he can play with dolls. I'm like, y'all need to go somewhere with that mess. So anyway, Charlie has decided that since she needs to move right away, that she's going to turn that space at the mill into an apartment for her and Micah. So we're going to see how this work out, because no one believes that it's going to last beyond a week. That went out and bought furniture and appliances and beddings and curtains and all kind of stuff. So they were there trying to help her get set up, and Aunt Vi was like, well, I don't think that furniture you got in storage in California is going to fit in this decor, but I'm sure next week Charlie going to have that place laid out, because you know that's real popular in some places where people turn warehouses into living quarters, and they usually look really, really nice. So last but not least, Lord have mercy, Darla got fired from that good government job that she had because she left. I thought Darla waited till her shift was over with, but no, she left in the middle of her shift to go out there and help with that farm. And so she told her boss, you know, that she couldn't lose her job because that job was part of her recovery process. So he told her that part of your recovery process is being responsible. So now she has to live with the consequences of what she did. I was just like, Darla, I can't believe that you did that. But then again, I can, because there are young women just like you who do that same dumb stuff every day. But don't cry, Darla, because when one door closes, another one opens, and this just may be the thing that you need to take you to the next level and take a chance on getting better and doing better and being better. So that's it for me, guys. Let me know what you thought about the recap, what you thought about the episode. Leave your comments below. Rate the video, subscribe to the channel, and I shall talk to you guys next time. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.